This is we called it. We are late because of Connor Lucas ruining absolutely everything. Connor has to go soon, so we are going to be repping through his hottest takes today. We are doing the second half of our NFL win totals, the letters K to Z or K to W. I think is actually how it goes.
I don't even know.
Yeah, you're right. I
Second
actually
half, who cares? Starts with Kansas City.
Starts with Kansas City, ends with Zebras / Washington Commanders. Zebras was the first Z word I could think of. Anyways, Philip call, Connor Lucas. Connor, coming hot. Kansas City Chiefs. Highest win total in the NFL, tied for it, 11.5. You going over or under?
Listen, I don't care what anybody says, man. Like, Patrick Mahomes somehow got better in the offseason, and at least he had a better supporting cast. I don't think it matters that much that Rashee Rice. By the way, I read a report that Rashee Rice may or may not get the Alvin Kamara treatment, kick it down the road, and then more or less get a full year's worth of everyone getting a fantasy discount because he may not get charged and actually having an indictment or anything to come against him in terms of suspension until the next year. You know, Rashee Rice might actually be a buy right now. Anyways,
So
that's
not a hot take. Deshaun Watson destroyed the whole how many games are people getting suspended for doing stupid things whole system in the NFL.
Well, didn't they just redo the whole like punishment system to be like we really screwed that up because of precedent.
They side note, they are like, there's rumors that they're going to bring the hammer on Rashee Rice now to give him like anywhere from 6 to 8 games, which is crazy that Deshaun only got 11 and Rashee Rice may get 8, which to me doesn't fit the bill. But anyways, it's because it was his fault. Basically, he admitted it. He didn't admit that it was his fault, but he did. Yeah, he was the reason for the accident. It hurt someone, even though it was minor, obviously, but it did basically cause an injury, and then also punched a photographer or something like that. He has a couple of things out there, so I think that he's probably not going to get off scot-free. Pretty. Just when is it going to be, this year or next year? We'll find out. But
when you talk about the Kamara treatment, I mean, it's the longer you wait, the less people remember. Unless it's really bad. I mean, Kamara did something awful, and it was on videotape. And there was like, first people were like 6, 8 games. You wait a year, and they're like
4. 4. He only punched you guy within an inch of his life, broke his orbital bone. Yeah, whatever. Was that you kicking him? He was like, yes, that was me. Ooh, lawyers pretty upset about that one. Don't say that. He was like, yeah, whatever, it was me. Sorry. 4 games. Anyways, I don't know. How can you bet against them? Honestly, how can anybody? Okay, besides Ken, how can anybody besides Ken?
So Ken, how are you betting against these guys?
Pretty simple. They are a playoff team, and I do not think they care about the regular season. Travis Kelce's already said he's getting ready to, essentially not take a back seat, but be ready for the postseason. They're playing for Super Bowls. I don't think they're not. This isn't the 07 Patriots. They're not going for 17-0. And they, last year their defense did amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing. Losing L'Jarius Sneed, that's something. This is strictly a 11.5. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of competition in this division. I think that they'll rest games that they don't need to win, and they're playing for the end game.
So the reason I like them to do well is because they are getting back to what they do best, aka have like a set of speedsters on offense. So they got Marquise Brown. So he's just like a killer deep threat that might be able to fill in that Tyreek Hill role. And then whoever they drafted, I can't remember, but it's like just
Xavier Worthy.
Just
Xavier.
Yeah,
super fast,
just explosive speed. And then you have Rashee Rice,
the
if he is back,
fastest man in the NFL Combine ever.
Yeah, and you saw what they did when they had Tyreek Hill. So
what was his 40?
4.21.
Okay.
He was like, wait, What is this you speak of? Did you guys hear about this?
Ken's like, I didn't think you actually knew the numbers. Well, go Connor.
No, I was just really impressed that Chris Johnson.
He's a
is
much
probably
better,
really pissed about that.
He's a much better wide receiver prospect than John Ross was. He actually produced in college. John Ross
went top 10, didn't he? So I don't know if you're right.
They reached because they were like, "Whoa, fast guy."
So is he more like Darius Hayward-Bay then? Or
yeah, no, Darius Hayward-Bay. Listen, we're talking about stupid decisions from owners reaching for guys because they're fast. I'm saying that doesn't necessarily apply here.
You're right. The guy you want a guy that fell in the draft. Ted Ginn is the kind of comparison.
Xavier Worthy fell to them, and people were like, he might be the fourth wide receiver off the board. Genius is because he's a good wide receiver.
I got no one else that was just stupid fast, so I think we're out of.
Oh, I saw a list. I saw a list that was just like, it's almost like a detriment to be as fast as you are. It was like the last guys to run sub 4.4, like out of the last like 30 of them that went in the first round, just abysmal. It was like a 5 out of 50 hit rate. And it was like, you actually want to be a 4.4 or above for some reason. Because generally that means you're a better route runner.
If you are 4.41, you are the fastest talented receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
All right. So I got over. Ken has under. I think we talked him into over. He won't admit it, but for now, we'll just say,
It's strictly 11.5 is a high one, and I can't have two overs on 11.5. But we'll get there later.
It's superstition. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Anyways,
it's
next
not
team.
superstition, it's numbers. You got
Possible
it's not hand theory. All right, so this one is affected by the next one. Is affected by the next one.
You can only have so many wins. Yes, they literally. I was gonna say,
there can only be one team that wins the most games in the NFL, Connor. Duh.
Right. Kind of not.
Yeah. All right. Las Vegas Raiders is the next game. Over under 6.5. So what? They're coming off an surprise season where they won like 8 games and had Antonio Pierce take over for the world's worst coach, Josh McDaniels.
Yeah. I'm just going to stop you right there. Go ahead. They replaced him with the Bears offensive coordinator. Okay. So just say whatever you want. And then you know what they did? They said, hey, we're going to half attempt to reach in the draft and get up and get a quarterback. Started calling about trying to get to Jaden Daniels because Pierce either coached him in college or knew him in college. Of course, they're not going to offer enough to get up there. And then they got to the 14th pick, and they were like, crap, all the quarterbacks are gone. All right, let's take a tight end after drafting him 1 year before, basically in the same round. Or
don't worry, I saw a tweet from someone that said they don't play the exact same position. They're different types of tight ends, so we're good.
So this is what's crazy to me. We talked about this too. We've talked about this for how stupid Atlanta was. Just like, it's like the opportunity cost. We talk about it in in business all the time. What are you foregoing? There is an actual cost for that you can estimate pretty darn accurately. So rather than at the 14th, you could have tried to trade up and get J.J. McCarthy, who went, 3 picks before there? Instead of doing that, you said, I'm going to forego that and get a guy that's similar. Yes, he's a freak athlete, but you have someone who is very good already. The marginal value for that compared to a potential franchise QB is just like, it doesn't even equate. And you also clearly had Devontae Adams upset about what they're doing on offense. And now he has to go out and save face and say, oh, yeah, I love Vegas. I love Pierce. I love him. I love this new offensive coordinator who had a really good offense last year with the Bears. Like, come on. So, no, this is maybe just an angry pick. I don't think they win more than 6 games, or with Gardner Minshew or the Stash brothers, Aiden O'Connell. I just don't see it. Because why? Because we like the head coach. That's awesome, man. A lot of people really like Ron Rivera, and Ron Rivera sucked.
Players are going to run through a wall for whoever's throwing the ball. Now, they'll run, probably be thrown into a wall also because their quarterbacks are awful. But
They
Ken,
addressed nothing.
Yeah,
Ken, you have the over. You're the only one.
No, I don't. I don't have the over. That was definitely a mess up.
Gosh darn typos.
My bad there. So no, because my whole thing I was gonna say. So they overachieved after Pierce came in last year, and they got a few more wins. I like Gardner Minshew as a very good backup in the NFL, and their whole offense was running behind Josh Jacobs. Amir White is not Josh Jacobs. I'm sorry. Let other people draft him in fantasy this year. I'm totally fine with that. I'm not buying anything into this. Devontae Adams is an older, might have a little bit more of that diva wide receiver. And I'm like, if he's not doing well, which I don't think this offense is going to do well, he can quit and try to get traded. This is a competitive division, and I just don't see how they're going to win many games. So I don't know how I had that as the over. That was one of my more confident unders. My bad.
Maybe you meant LA. Who knows? But yeah, this is definitely a team that's I think I could see tanking by the end of the year, and dumping Devontae Adams because they suck. So we'll see how it goes. Even though they're insistent they would never ever trade Devontae Adams.
Even worse, you guys don't pay attention to college. The quarterback draft next year, Bo Nix could potentially have gone 1 next year. Okay, the quarterback's situation
at age 27,
if he could have stayed for a 27th year in college, would have been the number 1 pick overall next year. Okay,
all right, real quick.
All 4 of the guys that went would have been easily. Probably there's 1 quarterback that would have been mixed in there, and that's the kid from Texas. Other than that, yeah.
If Bo Nix was in the draft at 27 years old, and he was up against Brandon Weeden, who would you take?
Well, that's a disgusting scenario. That's an absolutely disgusting scenario.
I think
it's not Brandon Weeden. I don't care how bad Bo Nix is. It's not Brandon Weeden. He got tackled by the U.S. flag, man.
Exclusively because I think Bo Nix is more intelligent than Brandon Weeden. I would take Bo Nix.
All right, so we all got the unders. I'm sorry, Raiders. Your team it just needs football players. That's the bottom line.
On like Max Crosby feel good story. That's how I feel about it.
People like Max Crosby could have 30 sacks, and it wouldn't matter.
Like that's awesome. 30 sacks, 30 socks.
People aren't going to drop back 30 times against this team.
That's true. All right, let's finish up the division. Los Angeles Chargers, 8.5 wins. They are heavy favorites to actually cover this, so the line is like minus 150 for them to hit the over on this. And Ken, you have the under because you hate this whole division. You have the under across the whole division.
That's right.
So why do you hate the RV brothers? Lose. I don't know if you guys have seen that video of Harbaugh and Greg Roman chilling out in RVs. It's hilarious.
So my whole thing with it is they destroyed their offense over the offseason. I mean, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. I mean, like they have Justin Herbert. I know they're run first, ground and pound. They're going to do it with Gus Edwards and the one-legged J.K. Dobbins. I love J.K. Dobbins. I loved him when he had 2 legs. But yes, they're
got the Gus bus too, man. He runs just as fast as J.K. Dobbins.
The offensive line is a little better, but it was that bad last year. Justin Herbert is a very good quarterback. I love Justin Herbert, but man, who's he throwing to? I have no confidence.
Bill,
I don't think they're going to throw, period.
Bill, listen. I don't know if you know this, but PFF, I think, ranked the Chargers over the last 5 years like 30, 31, or 32 in supporting cast since Justin Herbert has been in the NFL. Look it up. I know you love PFF.
Well, I think he's frozen, but
he is frozen.
Keenan Allen looked amazing last year. Austin Eckler, yeah, he was starting to the tread was running low on the tires, but still, way better than Gus Edwards at this point. And I just don't. I mean, their defense is gonna do better. There is a lot of talent on that defense, but I just don't think that first year the ground and pound, good defense, like slow games. Like, yes, I like Jim Harbaugh, but I think you need more than a good coach and a game plan to win in the NFL.
All right, but like, all right, I generally I tend to agree, but you also got to remember, you get the Raiders twice, you get the Panthers, you get the Broncos twice. I mean, that right there in itself is 5 wins. So you got to eke out 4 more. Okay, you get the Saints. There's 6.
They play
Titans,
one tough against
7.
the Chiefs every year.
I mean, who cares? Who cares? I mean, we don't care about the Chiefs. Chiefs are they're gonna smoke them every year. They get the Patriots. There's 8. You got to get one more close game. Can Jim Harbaugh and the grinded out Greg Roman offense get one more game? I'm saying yes. They get the Browns. You can see the Browns. You can go
Stop
see
your mouth right now.
They're in Cleveland. No, he's saying you get to watch it because they will be in.
We are covering that game. We are losing by a field goal, and we are covering that game.
Yeah. So I disconnected. I heard everything you guys said though. And Ken, who has Justin Herbert been throwing to the last few years? It seems like everyone that you're saying isn't there anymore. They didn't play at all because they kept getting hurt anyway. So it doesn't matter that they're not there. They're just saving money.
How did they do last year when all those guys went down? Wait, amazing, right?
Easton Stick was playing. Easton Stick. Do you even know where
Guess
he
what?
went?
Even before that, I'm sorry. I know because I had the Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert stack on my fantasy team, and I was killing it till then.
So Ken is making it very clear. This is revenge.
Personal.
It's a personal slight.
This is a grudge pick.
Next game, please.
All right. So Los Angeles Rams. This will probably be Connor's last take. Let's go. Make it a good one, Connor.
Yuck. I mean, this will be so interesting because we've talked about it so many times, just the impact of Aaron Donald. They're going to find out real fast. I mean, everyone wants to talk about, like, I get it. Puka is exciting. You get Kyron. You get, Corum. Still have Cup. Everyone's like a couple bounce backs. Stafford was productive last year. Listen, eventually, you lost your offensive coordinator, your defensive coordinator, and a guy who is literally going to be in the Hall of Fame the moment he's available. He may go down as a top 5 player on defense of all time. So, yeah, that's going to be a big deal. This is how we felt about the Eagles at this time last year. Eagles obviously went to the championship, but they lost both an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator. And I think don't want to give him too much credit. Phil was on it basically from the beginning saying, this is not going to be the same team. And what did they do? They pooped their pants when their defense sucked, hired him immediately, basically took their offensive coordinator. He was not that good. He wanted to run screens all the time. And almost exclusively because they had enough talent, they made it to the playoffs. But it was ugly. I think that's what you can see here. And to me, man, 8.5, middle of the pack schedule. But I've already told you guys, I think that Arizona is going to be better. I think you may maybe split. I think you maybe even lose to someone like in Arizona who has a 7.5 under twice, because I'm expecting them to be a lot better. So you got San Francisco twice, you got Arizona twice, you get the Chiefs. I mean, I'm not feeling this one. I'm not feeling this one at all. Aaron Donald was going to be a big loss.
All right. Well, we will give the rest of your picks and let them know you're over under. We won't tell them your takes, but we appreciate you taking the time to be here for a little bit.
Listen, I'll be here when I can be here, and you're going to like my picks, and I'm going to be right. How about that? You know this. So
I think you're going to be right with the Rams at least.
See you, Connor.
Go Rams. Except you suck. That was kind of oxymoronic. Bye.
Dude, yeah, no, I don't think people realize like how good Matt Stafford was last year. He was like the greatest version of Matt Stafford, arguably, that we've ever seen. And
you mean Matt Stafford that wasn't throwing picks?
Yeah, I don't know if he can carry a team now that I think I sent it to our group chat, but there was literally a play where 5 people were blocking Aaron Donald, and the Rams were getting no pressure because of just how bad the rest of the team is. They went and they drafted a bunch of pass rushers. It's not going to do anything. So I am just out on this defense being anything close to relevant, and Stafford isn't going to be winning games 50-60 or 60-50.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's all on the defense. Puka Nacua maybe takes a step back, so a little bit, second year in the league. Cooper Kupp's getting a little older. The running backs have always overachieved for Sean McVay. Maybe they keep doing that because that's what they do. But it really is that defense that they had one good linebacker, and just Aaron Donald. You just can't make up for that gaping hole.
Dude, it sounds ridiculous, but I don't even know if their linebacker's that good, right? So if you're giving attention to the D tackle, the linebacker runs free. So if you can block the linebacker.
I can't remember his name right now, but I mean, that's like the only notable person on that defense right now.
Yes, the man I can't remember is the only one I can. And by the way, Ken's favorite player growing up was like Derek Brooks. So if you can't remember a linebacker's name, it's kind of rough. All right. Going on, Miami. They have apparently the 8th best strength of schedule with an over-under of 9.5. Connor has them on the over. Ken, you have them on the over too. Why is that?
That's because I believe in Mike McDaniel here. I think he's not just a schemey offensive mind, but I think he's like developing into that, Kyle Shanahan. I don't want to say 2.0 because I mean he's better, but junior maybe. But I like how they set up the offense. I think that it's those quick action routes, short accuracy, and then just having playmakers get in space. They still have the fastest offense around. You talk about Kansas City's offense being fast. This is way quicker. Got a little hurt towards the end of the year. They're going to come back around. They have Odell Beckham Jr. now, which I don't care about at all. But I think that the Bills, I think, take a little bit of a step back this year. The Jets, we'll get to them, but I just think that it's this is going to be Mike McDaniel's 3rd year with them. I think you're just gonna see that boost. I think one of the teams in the AFC to look out for.
Yeah. So my problem is Mike McDaniel always falling off at the end of the year. Where it kind of reminds me of the Jared Goff Rams, right? They came in, they were doing cheeky things offensively, and they were really just crushing it. But always at the end of the year, teams adapted to them and held them down. And I just think Tua is not the answer. And the problem is there's a lot of good teams at the AFC, and I know they have a good strength of schedule, but they end with a lot of road games and close games. I don't think they're going to be pulling out. So I just think it's going to be harder, and I think the 50-50 games might go against them to end the year. And this team seems like the perfect 9-win team. I just don't know if they'll be able to get that 10th win. So I got the under. You two got the over.
I see a nice 10-7 there. They really need some home games in the playoffs if they want to go anywhere, though.
All right, next up, Minnesota Vikings. Now, Minnesota is starting either Sam Darnold or JJ McCarthy. It's a rough life, if you're them. And they have, I think, the 31st or 30th, the 28th hardest schedule. We are all in agreement here on the unders. I really think this is, for me at least, more so due to their schedule than it is to anything else. I'm biased. I personally wanted the Browns to draft Sam Darnold when he was coming out, and I hope he can play well. But when you look at who they play after the Giants, it's year
Sanford. 5. Get over it, man.
I know.
It's over.
Dude, there's people still rooting for Baker, all right? So I can do this.
Baker's won a few playoff games. Sam Darnold, has he played in a playoff game?
Yeah, he has. I think he went in when they were at some point in that San Fran game. He took a knee or something. So, but anyways, Minnesota starts. I think they can get the win at New York, but then they go San Fran, Houston, Green Bay, Jets, Lions. So 1-5 start. Not a great way to hit the over. So I am out on Minnesota.
I don't know. The NFC South's kind of like the AFC South, where people like the teams just play hard against each other. You can see, but the Lions and the Packers, I think they're just playing in a different league. I think they're looking higher, but I don't think they're looking over any games this year. So I am not. And you're just the way you see it with quarterbacks, especially first rounders now. They get them in pretty quickly. So you're lose a couple of these games in this hard schedule. You get the rookie coming in. If you notice, I'm betting against rookie quarterbacks this year. Totally fine with that. And I just don't think. We think the Bears are going to take a step up. I just don't see them having a successful year. So I like Justin Jefferson. I like Jordan Addison. I like Aaron Jones. This might be RIP to him. But besides that, I just don't see this team getting much momentum going at all.
All right, next up, we have New England Patriots. We are unanimous on this one over, despite them having the second hardest strength of schedule. I think this comes a lot from, the line being 4.5 wins. So do you want to say anything else then? Like, I think variance will just boost them over. Like, they'll give a couple of games where Josh Allen last year, who's throwing them passes for touchdown, pick sixes.
Guys, how this defense, I think they won they lost the most amount of games where their defense gave up single digits last year. I think they lost 3 games in a row where they gave up less than 9 points or less or something like that. But I think that a good defense can at least win you a couple of games playing hard against the division, depending on when do they play the Jets, because it all depends on when Aaron
in
Rodgers
New York, week 3 at home, end of October.
End of October.
Yeah.
Okay. But this team plays hard. I've heard good things about Jared Mayo so far, but the defense is going to play good, and I think that'll sneak in. 5-12 is a bad year, but that hits you with an over. Yes, this bet is not betting for Drake May. It's betting that his defense will carry him enough.
So, yeah, I just look at this receiving core: Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, Jalen Polk, Juju Smith-Schuster, and you're like, that's so bad. I feel so bad for Drake May. I'm kind of hoping they give him a redshirt year. I think Jacoby Brissett even gives them better chances to win just because of how bad that is. But I don't know. I'm optimistic for Jerod Mayo. He obviously a Bill Belichick disciple, played for the Patriots. So I wonder if they can just have enough games where they're gritty enough to pull through. And I also think getting rid of that Belichick stink for whatever he was doing to that offense, between who he hired and the systems they were putting in, I think just having a consistent, fresh, new offense will give this team, some upside to actually win some of those, 9-3 games instead of losing them. So I am in. This is just the right side of luck is where I think they end up.
Alex Van Pelt, an old Brownie guy, and then I do like Ramondre Stevenson. And no, that's not enough for an offense, but maybe they won't be. I don't know. They're gonna be bad to watch. Never mind. Let's get 5 wins up.
All right. Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints over under 7.5, and they have the 5th easiest strength of schedule. However, despite that, we are all like, this team is not very good at football, and they won. Did they win the division last year? No.
That was Tampa.
The Tampa Bay. It says first in NFC South, according to ESPN, so it must have been just a win number.
They tied in Tampa at the tiebreaker.
Yeah, so I love this offense in terms of weapons. It's like Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. All right, never mind. I just like those 2 players a whole lot. Alvin Kamara is useless.
Who are you going to name after that?
Yeah, Alvin Kamara, I think, is pretty useless now. Jamal Williams, he went from most touchdowns in the NFL to 1. So, and that's only because of
Jameis Winston. Kendry Miller. Kendry Miller is interesting to watch. I think he looked good. He was a higher draft pick.
He was supposed to be a surprise, right, last year, but they just weren't good, so it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think who's their coach? He was a coach previously.
Dennis Allen.
Yeah, and he wasn't a good coach. He's a problem. Like I don't like him.
I saw that he has the worst against the spread over on or wins loss total of like any coach in the last. I think it's like definitely the worst like now, but of like everyone, it was like they looked at it, was like he was like 50 out of 55 or something like that. And those are the games like 50-50. You want to be around 500. No, he had the worst record. So I just don't think he's good. This team is right. I mentioned before they're in just football purgatory with a quarterback that's not real good, an offense that's just not that great. The defense took a step back too. They don't have pass rushers anymore. It's not Cameron Jordan. He's just old. But I just don't think I think this team would be better. They just hit the self-destruct button, blow it up, and restart over. Because I mean, their cap is what, maybe like sneaking out a bad division win, and then getting crushed in the playoffs. I just don't see them. I can't even say I like Derek Carr. I like that Derek Carr sometimes throws for 300-yard games, enough to play fantasy football, but that's about it. Fantasy football for his receivers, not him.
Yeah, so this is exactly what happens, though, when you go all in with Drew Brees year after year. And I know you always say the salary cap isn't real. This is the final consequences, right? This is like the roster they are rolling out and the way they kept spending. And they brought in Derek Carr and just gave him money. It's like, all right, at some point the bill comes due, and now their players aged, and it just looks ugly. They've had to let a couple people go. Like, they started to let one person go, then two people, and now they're left with expensive old players, and they haven't been able to replace them. So, yeah, this is the demise of New Orleans.
Well, I will say that you really need more than one example of that, because there's plenty of examples where it doesn't quite just blow up. But yes, no, the Saints really did it. Like they're the classic, like, okay, maybe we went too far.
All right, next up, New York Giants, over under 6.5 wins. This is another unanimous pick, and I think we all know why. They're still relying on Daniel Jones. And I do not like that they lost their defensive coordinator. I thought Wink Martindale, he was one of those guys that could call a game, and it would either win you the game or lose you with how aggressive he was. And, when you're blitzing like that, it just exposes everything. So I don't see them getting lucky on defense like they used to. I still like Brian Dable as a head coach, but the bottom line is they lost Saquon, so there goes their running game. Now they're relying on Daniel Jones. I don't care if they got, a real number one receiver. This team needs a lot more in terms of weapons and just overall talent to be relevant. And I think this is the year that they're going to bottom. Well, they sucked last year, but I think this is the year where it bottoms out and they hit the refresh button.
Yeah, defensive line is a good place to start. And then I like that they got Brian Burns. Was it Kayvon Thibodeau? Like, he's a good player, but no, this offense looked awful with Saquon. It was like, Saquon, do whatever you can. Here's the ball. Make 3 people miss and get 6 yards.
Was it the Jets where he ran the ball like 40 times? And can't remember if they won. I think that was a Tommy DeVito game.
Yeah, they did their best out there. Tommy DeVito. But yes, they're hodgepodge of receivers that just, there's only so many Sterling Shepherds in the world and gets blown up. Who cares? Malik Neighbors, great. I hope they don't waste him. But I don't believe in Daniel Jones. I don't believe in him coming off of an ACL tear. The only thing that they got is that this division is, Washington Commanders just don't have much going for them either. But not a high win total. But I'm gonna bet against it. And I think that the Cowboys, I can't stand them, but man, like, they like to beat up on bad teams, and they're going to get 2 wins from the Giants. It's going to be awful to watch, but it'll be on prime time because that game's always on prime time.
All right, next up, we have your favorite. You've mentioned it like 5 times, but the New York Jets. Over-under is 9.5. Now, let me tell you, I'm surprised. So I mentioned The odds on the over is -160 now. They are a heavy favorite to hit this because of their strength of schedule being the fourth best. Honor believes in them to do so. You and I both have the under. So what is your thought first?
My thought is, first off, I love watching Aaron Rodgers. I love watching him in Green Bay. I loved watching him for 3 minutes last year. But now he's getting older. He's doing his own. The whole Achilles, I'm coming back as a 40-year-old quarterback was such a joke last year. There was no chance he even got anywhere near ready to play. That's the most dangerous thing I've ever heard. He was going to get killed if he got back out there. But he's old. He's coming off of that. Still a new team. I love them on paper, and I really want to see him succeed. I don't think he's making it through the year. I just don't. This bet is a bet against an aging quarterback on a repaired Achilles. Now, I love watching him play. I would want to see him succeed. They have a good defense. I think it'd be amazing to watch Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall with someone who can actually, run an offense. They have not had anything close to that in their careers. I just don't think it's going to happen. Sorry.
Yeah, so I like the offensive line is still the biggest problem with this team. And when your quarterback, like you said, is old, becoming fragile, it's not a good sign. Now they got Tyrod Taylor as the backup, but I just still don't believe in this team. Mike Williams is the answer at wide receiver. It's like Tyron Smith is their answer at left tackle. It's they keep you can't keep having high risk players.
Yeah, he's hurt all the time.
Yeah, you can't have players that are gonna be missing 3 or 4 games each, and maybe they sync up, maybe they don't, but it just starts to add up. And they start off against the 49ers. So I think we said a couple of years ago, any team that played the 49ers lost the following week. And you're gonna tell me this team is fragile, and they're gonna get smacked in the face on the very first week and probably get all those questionable tags immediately. It's just a tough route for them. And they do have, it does look good for them. Right after that Niners, it's Titans, Patriots, Broncos, Vikings. That could be 4-1. But then you get back to physical games and Bills, Steelers. So I'm kind of more like this team is going to get worn down and just be limping to the finish line, literally. So that's why I don't like them. I think Connor's like all in on believing in like Aaron Rodgers to keep these guys afloat offensively. Because that's what you need to do. You need to hope Aaron Rodgers can throw the ball in less than 2.5 seconds and run a Tom Brady offense. I think is the real answer here.
Mean, don't get me wrong. If Aaron Rodgers, looks like Aaron Rodgers of 4 years ago, then I'm gonna love to watch him. I hope the best for him. I just don't. I just can't bet on that leg.
All right, so now the Eagles. I'm just gonna guess because we all have the same picks throughout this whole division. Everyone is under except for the Eagles, where we all have over. All I'm thinking is like the Eagles do have a talented roster, and they brought in some real coordinators now. I can't remember who's on offense, but Vic Fangio is a good defensive coordinator, and their OC, Kellen Moore. He's a legit offensive coordinator. So my guess is this is a talented roster, and everyone in their division is going to suck. Therefore, they have to have enough wins. Like it's kind of they go 6-0 in their division. They stumble over 11 by going 500 the rest of the way.
I mean, maybe 5-1 in the division, but that's as bad as I can see them doing. But no, I mean, yeah, you have it pretty much right. Jalen Hurts had his first real down year of his career. I don't think that's gonna keep happening. He was definitely hurt, and it's like, okay, the guy who really needs his legs did not look good when he was hurt. But I mean, I love the receiving core. Devontae Parker retired. I thought that was funny. That they signed him. He was probably like, man, these guys are so much better than me. I'm out.
That's what I was thinking. He's like, yeah, I went from playing with the Patriots to all pros next to me, so I can't crack this list.
Did you see that AJ and Devonta guy? They're so fast. I'm out. But I really believe in Saquon. I mean, he did so much with having to carry a whole offense. Now you have someone else who can run the ball. Then you have other options that they're not going to give him 30 touches a game with teams just knowing he's getting the ball. But no, I Vic Fangio obviously big addition. I think that you were going to see a lot more of their first half from last year than the second half, obviously.
Yeah, I think weak coordinators was the biggest problem there, and I don't think Sirianni is a great coach. So bringing in actual good coordinators is good. And I only say that because when he had two coordinators that look like legit coaches in, oh my gosh, I can't think of the Colts head coach and the Cardinals head coach.
Yep.
Yep. Anyways, when those guys were around, they were a good team. When conflict happened in the middle of the season, poor leadership. Now you have Kellen Moore, who's experienced it, and you have Vic Fangio, who was a previous head coach, and I thought was good for the Broncos. So you got some strong voices in the locker room at least.
Yeah. Shane Steichen's the guy that you really like, by the way.
Yes.
John B. All right.
Next up, Pittsburgh Steelers over under 8.5 wins. The under is the heavy favorite here at -150. They have the hardest strength of schedule, and I think we all agree on this one then that it is the under. Why don't you go? Tell us why.
So they got to play the Browns twice. Give them 2 L's real quick. No, but it's the division. It's they overachieve. I mean, Tomlin is great. He's never gone under this number, but I mean, they just overachieved so much last year, and I like the addition of Patrick Queen. I could care less about the whole like Russell Wilson thing. Justin Fields, like that'll be fun for them to talk about. It doesn't really matter. I just think that they're just outmatched in this division. That's all it is. As long as the Ravens can stay healthy, as long as Joe Burrow can stay healthy, then I just think that they're outgunned. You're not going to get 4 teams above 500 again.
Yeah, I just like the amount of games they won because of defensive turnovers, especially early in the year, right? They beat the Browns because they scored 2 touchdowns on Monday night. Then they beat the Ravens because they scored a late touchdown on defense. And it just happened over and over and over again. They were one of the most fortunate teams in the NFL because their defense wasn't particularly good. It just forced timely turnovers, which is, TJ Watt's thing. So I'm aware that is part of the team, but I don't think you can rely on it for as many wins as they got last year. Like they won. I mean, they won 10 games last year while losing to the Patriots. Come on. In back-to-back week, they lost to the Cardinals and Patriots, and you're going to tell me that this team is going to win more than that because of Russell Wilson? I'm not buying it. So I'm out on the Steelers. Yeah, they'll bounce back. They just need, again, another team that just needs a revamp of talent. San Francisco over under 11.5. Another unanimous pick. We are all over here. The bottom line is Kyle Shanahan's a genius, and their defense is good enough. I think the offense can carry him, and I think the defense can carry him as long as it's not raining. Brock Purdy's a great quarterback, but once there's a drizzle, he's useless. So, what's your thought?
That's just it. It's a team that it's kind of like the Lions, where they come in and they play hard every week, and their defense, I mean, physically, I always love that stat. I think it was like 2 years ago, where it's every game, every time a team played them, the next week they lost because they're just so beat up, demoralized. You can call it what you want, but man, I mean, they just play hard. That like they have to tackle Debo and Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle all these times. Like they just play hard all the way through. So maybe there might be some Brock Purdy regression because he just keeps winning, but. I'm not a huge, not super afraid of other teams in the division, and I think it's another one of they're going to dominate the regular season again.
Any thoughts? Does your opinion change if Brandon Ayuk is traded?
No.
That's where I'm at. I'm just like, okay, fine. So they're just going to utilize Debo and Kittle and their first-round rookie receiver out of Florida.
Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah. They're just going to use those guys more, right?
Yeah, and I mean McCaffrey. Even who's their backup running back?
Mitchell, Eli Mitchell.
Eli Mitchell. And he runs hard, and then he gets hurt, but that's fine. They only need him so much. But I mean, there's just so many weapons, and those are all. I mean, these weapons, they're all like all pro caliber players. So, no, every team wishes they had this many weapons.
Yeah, so now the next team is the Seahawks. 7.5 is their win total. They have 15th ranked strength of schedule, and I keep saying that there's teams that need a talent overhaul. This is one of the teams that doesn't, in my opinion. I think they actually have a good roster, minus Geno Smith. And everyone, Seahawks fans, I've seen them on Twitter. It's like, if you look, Geno Smith wasn't the problem. It was this. I'm like, no. Geno Smith's the problem. Like, get a real quarterback, and everything will be better. It's like when you say Kirk Cousins isn't the problem with like taking a team next. It's like yeah, Kirk Cousins is your issue. That's why you can't win the big games to get 11 and 12 wins. But anyways, these guys, they have Mike McDonald coming from Baltimore, who's a defensive coordinator, which we've seen it takes a little time for defensive guys to, get up to full speed. But fortunately, they start off against the Broncos and the Patriots. Obviously, bumpy roads could go the wrong way, but at least like you can have, an easier game to start the year. You have the talent to outmatch them on both sides of the ball. You have a great receiving core. You have a good defense. I think this is 7.5 is just too low for a team. I think they're going to be one of those ones again, 9 and 10, sneaking into the playoffs, and then overvaluing themselves and then ruining it next year.
I agree. There's enough talent around that offense to really carry Geno Smith. It's not the opposite way around. I don't expect his 2023 or 2022 season where he just completely broke out, got paid. Good for him. But I mean, Kenneth Walker is, he can score a 70-yard touchdown anytime he's on the opponent's or on their 30-yard line. And I love DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, JSN. Once again, good weapons. You have a good defensive-minded coach. Maybe not the most fun team to watch, but I think that they're going to win some games here.
All right, next up. I don't know if I said it, but Connor's on the under there. So he disagrees with us, but he's wrong. So don't worry about it. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 7.5 is the win total. It's listed as 8.
8.5.
Okay. So they're over at 7.5. So we're just going to go off 8.5 because depending on the site you're on. So we all have under 8.5, despite them having the 11th easiest strength of schedule. I think the big point here is Carolina's an underrated team. And I also think we're hitting that Baker cycle like we keep talking about where Baker peaked and now it's going to get bad and ugly or things are going to look worse. Dave Canales was the OC and he was making magic happen. Now he's in Carolina. So it sucks when you lose your good offensive coordinator, but now you have to play against him twice in a year, which is, just worse, like the worst case scenario. So what do you think?
Yeah, Mike Evans getting a little older. I'm never gonna bet against Mike Evans because I've done that enough, and it's smacked me in the face. I like Chris Godwin. Quite really overachieved last year, but their defense. I think they overachieved a little bit there. It's the Baker cycle, guys. Sorry, this might be a Cleveland homer in here, but gets confident, then he gets a little lackadaisical with some throws, and he underachieved. It's just what happens, and I don't think this team is good enough to make up for that. I do. Yeah,
this was a team too.
Fantasy this year.
This was a team that was 4-7, right? And then they went 5-1 down the stretch to make the playoffs, where they had upsets against Atlanta, Green Bay, Jacksonville. Like, I don't know.
It's like a game where Desmond Ritter fumbled like at the goal line twice or something like that.
Yeah, that was the Atlanta game because Atlanta, like if Atlanta wins that, they pretty much won the division, I think, or something like that, or they had a playoff spot and they just choked it away. And then the number one reason why people are high is because of that 32-9 win in the playoffs against Philadelphia. But like Philadelphia was terrible, and
they were 10-1 at one point last year.
Yeah, they were 10-1.
Last win.
Yep, and then they beat the Giants. Come on, put some respect. But then like Baker went toe to toe with the Lions in the playoffs, and it's one of those things where it's like I don't know. The Lions are one of those teams where I thought the Buccaneers had a good matchup against them because they had terrible corners. And so you're going against a team with great receivers. So I am just not in on what this Buccaneers team showed, at least last year. Because again, as I emphasized in our last talk, the NFC quarterbacks are terrible. If you get someone who's playing, over their skis, then it is you can just take off. Geno Smith effect 2 years ago. Now it was the Baker effect. It'll be someone else this year, but I'm betting it's not Baker. Tennessee Titans. We covered this one already. Go ahead if you have anything to add.
We have way too many similar picks, man. Me and you.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember we can check it, but it's like there's two options and there's 32 teams. Of course, it's going to happen a whole lot that we agree.
Okay. Real quick, just because we're going alphabetical order, Tennessee Titans. They're going to miss Vrabel. They're going to realize how bad Will Levis is. Yeah, he has people to throw to. I don't care. Under.
Yeah, everyone's under. Strength of schedule is 27th. The bottom line is, like, unless they truly go, Tannehill is our guy because Will Levis is so garbage. That's the only way I would see this flipping.
Do they? Is
Tannehill not there anymore?
I think Tannehill's a free agent right now. Which, honestly, I don't hate Tannehill, and I want him to sit out till a playoff contender gets hurt, and they sign him mid-year.
Dude, the Browns, like that, he just seems like a perfect Browns QB if our running game can get up to speed.
He's
Anyways.
Joe Flacco. Are you saying he's Joe Flacco?
Do you remember him on the Derrick Henry Titans? So yes, I'm saying he's Joe Flacco.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I love it.
Anyways, Washington Commanders closing it out. We have the unanimous pick on the under. After years of loving the Commanders and their potential and them making me a crap ton of money, I am finally going to say under. I do not like Aiden Daniels, I think is his name. Yep. I think he's going to be a great fantasy quarterback. I get some, RG3 vibes from him. But, like, his flaws are literally health and risky plays. And I just don't think that's going to work in the NFL, especially with, like, aggressive concussion policies and a team that doesn't have a great defense. So if you make a mistake, other teams are going to take advantage of it. So this is just one where it's like going to be a problem.
Yeah, RG3 vibes. It's the same thing, man. Like, he drafted high after like low expectations in college and winning a Heisman, going to Washington. And by the way, RG3 looked really good. I think they went to the playoffs and hit the over their first year. Sorry, don't think that's happening. We're not revolutionizing running quarterbacks.
Do you know who the offensive coordinator was for that team? Have you ever seen have you seen the offensive or all the coordinators on that team? It was like Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. Mike McDaniel was the running backs coach. Sean McVay was the tight ends coach. Like, it is like the best set of offensive coordinators you could ever have. And if you remember, everyone said they ran 4 plays. Alfred Morris up the middle, Alfred Morris outside, and then like play action to Pierre Garçon and play action bootleg to Pierre Garçon. Like, they had 4 plays and it was perfect. And that's because Kyle Shanahan's like, that's all I can do. So I don't think they're Bobby Slowick was on that team too. So like they had 5 of like 5 phenomenal coaches or highly rated coaches now in the NFL.
Well, I do like Jeremy Chin, but man, they had such a good defense last year and they just blew it up and
got rid of all the defensive linemen.
The edges blew it up. I mean, really did a good job blowing it up. But no, the defense is trash now. And I don't know. I like Austin Eckler, Jay McDaniels. Just hard coming into here. I'm not betting on rookie quarterbacks, so going the under.
All right.
And yes, Dallas is gonna kill them.
You know what's awesome?
They beat bad teams.
We had Connor here for 20 minutes, and we still kept it underneath an hour, despite having him for like a quarter of this. That's how much he weighs us down. So last episode was like an hour and 45 minutes. He literally adds an hour of talking by himself.
Yeah. Well, he didn't go through every single schedule and every single game. Which, by the way, I was telling Phil before, I absolutely can't stand. It doesn't work like that, guys. Like,
yes, it does.
Last year we would have last year we would have gave Houston automatic L's for teams, and we would have
Speak for
said that the
yourself.
Chargers were
Someone
good.
someone very wise said their odds are plus 1,000 to win the division. I'd say it's worth a flyer. That was like my exact words. I
Those
didn't
aren't the
have
same
it. I
things.
didn't have that flyer, but someone might have.
Those aren't the same thing.
I know. Yeah, you're right. I had Jacksonville like going 13-3 or something stupid. That was rough. But I have them bouncing back this year, hitting their over. All right. You have anything else you want to discuss? I don't even think so.
We'll save it for next week if we get together, or the week after that, because that's how.
No,
this goes.
next week. Next week I'm here. The week after I'm gone. So 16th I'm out.
So we got to do it. All right.
Yep. All right. Cool. Well, thanks for listening, Ken. Good talking to you. Connor, you suck. See you guys.
All right.